Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar about cooking programs in the library with Maggie Pinnick. My name is Rebecca Antill. I'm the Youth Services Consultant for the South Carolina State Library. And we also have Jennifer Jean with us today. She will be helping to facilitate. She is one of our statewide program coordinators. If you want to use closed captioning, that's available down at the bottom of your screen. There should be a small button that says CC closed caption, and you'll also notice at the top of your screen it says live on Zoom with Rev.com. That is the closed captioning service that we use, so that's what that means. There will be a survey, a feedback survey sent out to you at the end of the program. Please make sure that you take a couple minutes and rate the program and tell us how we did, tell us what else you would be interested in hearing. Those surveys are what gets us our funding every year from IMLS. So please make sure to take a second and fill those out. Just had a couple more people join us. Let me let them in. All right, so Maggie, I am turning it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I've done this presentation a couple times. So this is my third time doing it. We'll hopefully go at a normal pace. The last time I did it, I kind of sped through. So I'm going to try really hard to pace myself. My name is Maggie. As far as my culinary experience, I have none. I am not a cook. I don't have the patience, and my skills are very lacking. I like to bake, as you can see in that video. That is a sponge cake I made. It's from Emmy Made in Japan. Well, that's where I saw it. I don't know where she got it, but it looks like a sponge, and it was really funny. So that's the kind of stuff I cook. Like, I don't make real food by any means. This is the stuff I do. So I'm not a very experienced cook myself. As far as library experience, I have been in libraries for about 4 years. My first 2 years were in Indiana, and I was a teen program coordinator. And then I moved to Wichita in August 2018, and I've been working at Mulvane since. I graduated last December with my master's in library science, and right now I am the adult/teen program coordinator. And if you don't watch Emmy Made in Japan, she has her own YouTube channel, and you can also follow her on Facebook. I would suggest you do follow her because she makes kind of silly things like this. She makes really interesting food, and she uses different tools. She has a lot of great ideas that I think could be used in a library setting. Like, I just saw she posted something about a mayonnaise cranberry candle that is supposedly edible. It sounds disgusting, but intriguing all at the same time. So it's just kind of fun ideas like that. I'm going to try really hard to read the chat at the same time. If not, there will be plenty of time at the end to ask me questions. All right, so our story. The idea of our big cooking program was a group effort. This is mainly because as a library team, we really like to eat. We were already doing many different food programs like cookbook recipe swaps, taste tests, cookie decorations, that sort of thing. We just thought it'd be really fun to level up our program. Our library was built in 2015, 2016. So our library had a lot of infrastructure already in place that made our program possible. Our programming room has outlets on the floor. So we were able to plug things in and spread people out with our different food programs. And we also have a dishwasher and a fridge in our room, in our break room. Our main funders for this program, it was funded mainly through grants. We have paid a little bit as libraries, but not very much. Our first one was Cargill.
Tomorrow, though.
Our first program or grantor was Cargill. We got about $2,300 from them, and that helped fund.
That's right. Actually, I was pretty floored. I think we're all having a really good time.
And then Kroger, which is Dylan's, Kroger donated about $500 for food. So we did get a lot of our food coverages covered with Kroger and Walmart. Last December, we got another big grant from Walmart, about $3,000, and that's to help pay for our food for the next few years. Obviously, 2020, we didn't use hardly any of it because of COVID-19. So we'll have that money for future years, and it's also to help replace some of the things that broke and we need to replace with our thing. So our big cooking program, I realized I did not describe it, is we have 6 individual sets that look like this. And we invite 10 to 12 people to, in pairs of 2, basically, to cook with a chef that we bring in. It's a really fun time. We've had a lot of interesting experiences. I'm not leading kind of our big events. I lead the teen ones. But they just get a chance to cook with us, right? It's a really fun time. And then we have like what I call the peanut gallery, and they sit in the back and they just watch and ask questions, that sort of thing. So we have, with our grant, our $2,300, we bought the 2 top burners, we bought utensils, we bought pots and pans, we bought bowls for mixing, the spoons, basically everything you see there. We also purchased 2 griddles, 3 convection ovens, and 2 blenders. Yeah, that was pretty much what we bought from Cargill with the $2,300. We also bought the totes that we keep everything in, so it's just 1 tote. And we also bought a big shelf to put the totes on. So that's what we bought with that. What we don't typically purchase, and that's just kind of our perspective of it, or I try to limit what I buy. We don't buy disposable to-goes. When people sign up for the event and we call to let them know, like remind them of it, we ask them to bring their own to-go containers if there should be any leftover food. I try really hard not to give them a lot of extra food, mainly because I want to save as much money as possible so we can continue doing different programs. We use limited paper plates and plastic silverware. We happen to have in our break room plates and silverware that we just bring out. Like I said, we have a dishwasher, so then we just put them in the dishwasher to be cleaned. So we use that rather than buying paper plates and napkins, that sort of thing. For this project, we wanted to focus on health and using real ingredients as much as possible. When this program came to life, that was really my goal. I will say I keep that goal in mind when I'm working with the teenagers. I want them to be making healthy food, or at least be learning about making healthy food. The adults, health kind of went out the window a little bit, just based off of the restaurants that came and what they wanted to make with us. So we try to stay on the side of unique with them at that point. But we do try to keep it in mind when we select restaurants, that sort of thing. And by selects of the ones that I do a mass email out who respond back to me. So for the adult programs, we invite a local chef to our library and teach or demo a recipe. Most of the food items come for the menu. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want to teach us something special. For instance, this picture is our local Italian restaurant, Luciano's, and they're awesome. They make really great Italian food, but rather than teaching how to make one of their dishes, he came in and taught us how to make like a simple red sauce, a simple pasta sauce. And it was super useful. It was super informational. He talked about what it's like to, use different tools for the different vegetables. He talked about caring for your knives. All around, it was a really great kind of setup what he wanted to do. On the day of the event, you purchase the ingredients. I always wait to the day of just to make sure that everything is fresh and I don't have to really worry about anything bad happening with the food. It's just always fresh. I set up the room. I clean the room. I disinfect and clean all the tables, that sort of thing. I prep any food if necessary. And then afterwards, it's always the cleaning and the dishes. It does take a long time. It's a very big day to do these events, but it's always fun. It's always worth it. Positives. I've gotten to know my community really well doing these programs. The patrons really love it. I get to know the local businesses. Like I said, I used a local in-town restaurant for this one. I have gotten to know many of the Wichita area restaurants, which is about 30 minutes north from me. And it's just been really great to get to know different people and the different things that they do. My patrons are making friends with each other, or they were before COVID-19 and we shut programming down. And they also became interested in some of my other programs because we would advertise the other programs like, oh, next week's DIY, make sure you stop by, next week's Funko. So they were making friends and meeting up with each other during that thing. It's also a fun date night for people. They came in together, they got to cook a little bit of a dinner, and then they got to go home. It was a lot of fun for them, so it was all good. We did have a weird sign up thing for the adults because it got kind of popular, but I think I go over that in another slide. So I'll make sure I circle back because it did get popular, like people like waiting outside the door to sign up. So we did have to change how we signed up a little differently. Teen programs are mostly led by me. One time we did have Chipotle come in and teach them how to roll a burrito. That was a lot of fun. And Chipotle provided the tortillas for us. And they gave the kids like a little coupon for free chips and guac, I think. And then I bought the rest of the food for them to actually make the burrito. They made salsa that day and guacamole that day to, put on the rice and beans, which I did pre-make and just have in a crock pot and Instapot off to the side of the room. But these are a lot of fun. The kids really like it. It's a great connection with them. The teens love telling you everything that they know how to do already. So they really love telling me all the things they have already made in their life, from grilled cheese to soup to lasagna. I mean, some of them kind of impressed me with what they said they could make. I don't know if it's true, but I'll go with it. And the kids are fairly open to trying new foods as well when you put it in such a fun, positive environment of them, it's no pressure. I'm not going to make them eat a vegetable if they don't want to eat a vegetable, but most of the time they'll try it at the very least. Very similar setup to my adult programs. I buy the groceries, set up the room, prep any food, and then I do a lot of dishes at the end. I try to have the teens help me with cleaning, just as part of the responsibility of cooking at home should be, you're also responsible for cleaning too. But honestly, it's sometimes created a little bit more work than if I had just done it myself. So I'd say that is dependent on your level of control, if you're willing to relinquish.
Sheila, I am on program.
It's a matter of that. So if you can, give out the control and let them do what they want, you're probably fine letting them clean, but I got a little weird. For my kids' teens events, I did try to at first have them sign a parent waiver, but my board said it wasn't necessary. I would say talk to your board whether or not you find that necessary or not. I felt better about them signing a waiver for at least the first one because I wanted the parents to know that they would be handling knives and hot surfaces, just so everyone's all on the same page. Kid programs, I'm not the kid or children's programmer, so we didn't do as many of these. But we did do a few and they always went over well. We did a lot of assembly food program with this age group. We made pancakes. We did science projects with food. Again, similar setup. You buy the groceries, set up the room, prep any food, and clean up dishes. Here's a picture of us doing a science experiment with hot chocolate. You can find it on Pinterest or online. I mean, that's what we did. But, we had them take temperatures of what would get hotter faster, milk or water, and how long does it take to, for something to melt in the hot chocolate. And then they got to make a fun designed hot chocolate for the day. And this was last year. None of this is from 2020, just in case people are wondering. So now I'm going to go through different cooking ideas, and some of these go from really basic things where you don't really need any kind of equipment. You don't really need food, really. Always food makes it better though, and to more involved programming. So I'm going to talk about cookbook swaps, demos, assembly only classes, more hands-on, and then cooking adjacent programs. So with any program, the key ingredients are fun people, which luckily we're librarians, so given, food, connecting materials, tables and chairs, and then olive oil because this was a cute image and I just needed something. All right, so cookbook swaps. It's a pitch-in style program where each attendee brings a dish and a copy of the recipe. Ones that we have done in the past are Crocktober, which are crock pot meals in the month of October. Perfect on so many levels. There's one, the hilarious name of it. Two, sweater weather and chili recipes. It's a big win. So we have people sign up and they bring in their crock pot with all, with their recipe, whatever they decided to make. We try to encourage people to, check out a book from our collection or a magazine from our collection, but we don't make it a requirement. We do make it a requirement. They sign up, but we don't care actually what they make. So they come in and then we gather all the recipes and we make like a little book, a little recipe booklet for them to take home of everything that they tried that day. We also do a read it and eat in the spring. Again, we do a bigger push to encourage them to check out books from our library to make at home, but it's not actually a requirement. Other ideas that could be fun. We personally have not done them in our libraries, but I do think they're really good ideas, are a cookie swap. Everyone makes 2 to 3 dozen cookies, however many people are attending, and the recipe. Everyone leaves with a cookie from everyone and a recipe. This would be really fun for right before the holidays or another time of event. If you have like a special town function or something that revolves around cookies, that would be really fun. Or I know some places have like pecan day or something, and like a pecan cookie would probably be good. A salsa and jam party. If anyone in your area makes their own homemade jellies or salsa, this would be a really great program to do so they can showcase their skills. It would also be a really great place to figure out who would be willing to teach how to make a jelly or a salsa for you at a program. Plus, you could have some really cool music going on during the program. So overall, I just think this is kind of a fun idea. The day of the events for our Crocktober and our Read It and Eat, we set up the tables and chairs. We do have to make sure there's lots of electrical cords because people are bringing in their crock pots, so we can make sure everything gets plugged in. Cups and plates, and then clean up afterwards. The main challenge really for this, and where you might want 2 or 3 people helping you for the event, whether it's other staff or volunteers, is making copies of everyone's recipes, because usually people don't bring those until the day of, which is fine. It's just a lot of running back and forth, at least for us, because our copy machine isn't in our programming room. So we have to run and make copies and then bring them back. So it's a little running back and forth at the beginning. That's why I suggest you have 2 or 3 people helping you for the event. We do make people pre-register. That way we know how many chairs and how many people to expect before the event. This also prevents people from just walking in dishless. This program was started before I started working here. So I guess we were having issues of people just popping in, taking food and leaving and not really participating in the event. So that's kind of to help negate that behavior, but that's not something you have to do. If you know your community, do what works best for your community. We just had some people that were sneaking in, that sort of thing. We also do this as an adult only event. Again, people would sign up, they would bring one dish, and then they would be like, feed my family of 7 at the event. Again, it's just to keep things leveled and there's enough to share with everyone at the event. But again, you know your community best. Maybe it would be fine. It's not that big of a deal. So just keep that in mind. You know your community. Demonstrations. So have a cooking set, just so one cooking set, like I showed before in that picture. I have 6 of those sets. But if you only have enough money for maybe one, you can just invite chefs in to do a demo. You just need enough space to have that chef come in and show what they do. You might need to buy the food. They might be willing to donate the food, that sort of thing. Who to invite? You have your local chefs, or if you know someone with maybe one of those fancy new kitchen gadgets that are in season. So I don't know if right now it's still a fad thing, but the air fryer, a lot of people might be wondering, how do I use an air fryer? And there might be someone in town willing to share what they have done with it. That'd be an excellent person to come in and kind of just do a little how-to with it. What's also nice about demonstrations is you can invite a whole lot more people compared to like more hands-on classes. I can only have 10, 12 people actively cooking in one of those active classes, but a demo class, depending on the chef's feelings, you could have way more people attend. We did one with hummus, the Mediterranean restaurant in Wichita, Meddy's. They came in and they taught us how to make their world famous hummus. And that was a demo class. And I was able to have like 25, 30 people come to that. Things to do for this the day of or a little bit beforehand. Call people to make sure that they are coming. I do have like a wait list for different classes. So if I can bump people up on the wait list, that is something that I will do. And so I do try to make people very accountable of whether or not they're going to attend or not. You buy the food, set up tables and chairs. Again, we make people pre-register just so we know all the space, that sort of thing. The challenge is making people, okay, so apparently I didn't go over the rules. So what we did for signups, because it became very popular in our area to do these cooking classes, was we started releasing 3 cooking events out at a time. So 3 different months, and then we would have them sign up to be an active cooking spot for only one of those classes. They could come, they could sit and watch, but they couldn't participate in the actual cooking class. And then, like I said, if people get bumped, they had a chance of being bumped up if the cooking class didn't fill up, or if someone had to leave and then they just got to be a bump up. So some of the challenges we faced were people not understanding the rules of signing up. And they would be like, I'm going to give my spot to so-and-so, and be like, no, we have a wait list of 20. So this next person's going to get their chance. So it's just working it out with your community and making sure everyone kind of understands rules. Am I missing any chat questions as of right now?
No, you're good, Maggie.
I'm good?
I'm
okay.
Watching the chat also.
All right. Thank you. All right. Our next thing are assembly only recipes. I personally really like assembly only recipes. There are a lot out there that don't need anything fancy in order to make them. You don't need anything hot. You don't necessarily need a knife. You might need one, but you don't necessarily need it. You just need bowls, spoons, and mixing or measuring cups. So very easy. These are really great for teens and kids, especially if you get nervous around knives and like heated objects, because it doesn't really take any sort of active thing to get them going. You can make no-bake cookies, you can make guacamole, you can make salads. If you have the right equipment, you can make a sushi, or a sushi bowl possibly, but even then you'd have to cook rice. But smoothies, there's lots of things. Like I said before, you would just need the basic tools. Or if there is like an element, like a sushi element where you need rice, you can bring that in your crock pot or your Instapot and just bring it with you so that rice is available to add to the dish, but you don't have the wait time of cooking rice because rice takes forever, and you don't have to worry about them each prepping their own. Again, the things to do on the day of the event or the day before: call beforehand, make sure everyone's there. You buy the food, set up the tables and chairs. Yep, that's pretty much it. Everything else I've mentioned. Assembly only is also really easy to take on the go. So before COVID-19, I would do once a month, once every other month, go to our local high school to do a program in the high school. And one time I went in and we made no-bake protein balls. So oatmeal, peanut butter, chocolate chips, that sort of thing. It was really easy. It was very messy. I'm not going to say it was a clean event. It was very messy, but the kids really enjoyed it. It was a good outreach. It was really easy for me to grab it and go there. And I didn't need anything, you know, that'd get me flagged at the door like a knife or anything. I just had bowls. It was fine. Hands-on cooking. So that's kind of where we are at our library as far as the totes go. So go over some of the experience we've had. We have the multiple demo kits, and you need the food. You need to arrange to have a local cook or chef to come and present. Or if you're lucky and you're a really good cook, as I have explained, I am not a great cook. You yourself can be the leader of it. We have really lucked out with a lot of our great restaurants that have come in. This picture to the right is from a cafe, a Beautiful Day Cafe, and they're kind of a farmish to table restaurant-ish. I don't think it's full on, but anyway, she came and she was advertising it on her own Facebook page. And this gentleman here owns a farm, and he came in with a whole bunch of fresh produce and he gave it to the library for the event. So I gave him a little plug for his farm because he gave the fresh food and it was beautiful. And he talked about his farm, which everyone was really interested in, to talk, you know, to learn more about sustainable farming and, you know, kind of the pros of buying local versus the supermarket, that sort of thing. So it was a really great experience that I hadn't planned on, but I got out of the community. So that was really cool. Last but not least are cooking adjacent programs. Again, these are programs that are technically not cooking, but are still fun and they still involve food, and there are things that we're hoping to incorporate in the future after COVID-19 is over. Yeah. So the first thing you could do is a nutrition talk. So invite a dietitian or a nutritionist to come and talk about health benefits of different foods, or if there is, you know, someone local who likes talking at the library, you know, you always hear of those fad diets or those trendy things that are happening. They could come in and talk about the pros and cons of each one, because there is a lot of myth around different diets. And, you know, it's good to give people as much information as they can. Cookbook authors and food bloggers, or if you know anyone who's TikTok famous in your area that does food stuff, they would be super awesome to come in. I'm a big fan of TikTok, watching them. And it'd be, you know, it's interesting to see who's TikTok famous, right? It's always some randos. But invite them to come in, or if, you know, they could Zoom in to talk about their different cookbooks, their different experiences. We had a local author come in and talk about her cookbook. What was interesting about her cookbook though, was she said she wasn't a cook, but Wichita had a history of like 150-year-long standing cooking club in the area. And so she brought in a bunch of antique kitchen tools and gadgets. And she talked about what each one did. You know, some of the things did not last clearly because it's 2019 and we're all standing like, I don't know what that is. But, you know, some things lasted the test of time. So she had the antique version. It was really cool. So who knows what you have in your area? Talk around, talk to your local history museum. Who knows? And then food bloggers, because I watch a lot of those. I watch Emmy Made in Japan, Tabitha Brown, Nicole the Nomad does cute different desserts, that sort of thing. So there are a lot out there that are definitely worth your time to watch, get inspiration for them, and maybe they'd be willing to zoom in. Taste tests. I love the idea of taste tests. We have not done them. Not really anyways. We've done little taste tests like test the flavor of the Oreo, but nothing too serious. So this could be really fun for kids in particular. You could have different vegetables out on a table and the kids could get a chance to touch their own. Not obviously, it's not a community touch, but touch their own of the different vegetables. They could describe it to their parents. They could try to draw it. They could tell, you know, smell it. What does it smell like? And then no pressure, they could eat it. And this would be a great way to introduce vegetables or fruits to, you know, kids that maybe don't get necessarily those vegetables and fruits at home. And, you know, it's not a meltdown situation if they don't want to eat it. It is no thing. They can still draw it. They can still have fun with their friends, that sort of thing. I also saw this with different herbs online. Again, it just could be a fun experience, I think, for adults too, with the herbs anyways, of smelling different kind of herbs, tasting it, seeing it in its real form versus, you know, what you buy at the grocery store, that sort of thing. And then restaurant talks. Bring the restaurant in to just talk about itself to the library. This would be a great for a new business in town, or maybe an old business that is expanding their menu. It's just a really great way to get your local community involved with the library, gives them a plug, and it gives you a really fun program. See if you can buy a sampler platter, or if maybe they'd be willing to donate a sampler platter to kind of just enhance the program. And with all of these programs, you can always bring out your cookbook or magazine collection to show people. We didn't get to have our Peruvian restaurant come to our library because of COVID-19. She was scheduled for April. But I had planned to, you know, grab books about Peru, you know, like our travel books. And I was planning to grab a couple movies that we had that talked about, you know, Peru culture, that sort of thing. So if you're bringing in maybe a more ethnic or unique food restaurant into your library, have stuff out there that kind of correlate with it, because it might be a fun learning experience as well. Trying to think. I feel like there was something else I wanted to add to that. I don't remember. All right. So thank you so much for having me here. I am open to questions. You can also feel free to email me. I have that on the screen. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Also, this is kind of funny. It's not really cooking related, but I did a TikTok video, and this is just to show how kind of silly TikTok is in everything. But I made a video on how to make an apron out of a t-shirt and went wildly popular on TikTok. Had like 130,000 views. It was insane. And it was so stupid because it was just a silly t-shirt apron. So I, as a marketing thing, might as well do TikTok because it's kind of fun. But let's see if I can find, there we go, the chat. Any questions? How we do our registrations, we don't have an online platform. That's just something this library hasn't ever had. So we have people for the food programs either call or walk in to sign up. And like I said, for the adult patrons, because after our first program was very popular, people were coming in and it was the same people getting to the library first to do the cooking portions of our class. And that wasn't very fair. So we had the same, 10 people cooking and the same 10 people just watching. So we had the 3 set out and they got to pick one to be the active participant. And then if they weren't actively cooking, they could sit in the audience and just ask the chef questions, which honestly, some of them prefer to just do that. They like just watching. They like getting the chance to talk to the chef or the local restaurant owner because they like to chit chat. So they preferred that anyways. So that's kind of how we do our registrations. And people can call in. And usually I have for the cooking programs, like a launch day where I'll say, this is the day you can sign up. We aren't taking signups before this, just so everyone's aware of it. And then we can move forward. Is Emmy made in Japan from North Carolina? I feel like she might be, actually, now that I'm thinking of it.
Not sure. I've seen her a few times on Facebook.
Yeah, I feel like, or maybe she is originally from one of the Carolinas, and then I know she moved to Japan. That's where her show started. And then she moved back to the States, but I don't know where she lives now.
Does anybody else have any other questions? You can unmute yourself or either put it in chat for Maggie.